Okay, I need to be honest about something. Season 2 of Squid Game is my favorite season, but it's also my least favorite. And I know that makes zero sense, because how can something be your favorite and still feel like the weakest entry at the same time? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that both of those feelings can exist together. Season 2 is the reason I fully fell in love with Squid Game. It's the season that pulled me in. It's the one I rewatched the most. It became weirdly comforting to me. I threw it on just because I liked the vibe. The characters were fun to watch, the dynamics were entertaining, the tension was there, but it didn't feel suffocating. And that's exactly the problem, because Squid Game isn't supposed to feel comfortable. Season 1 was devastating. It felt heavy. Every game felt like something was being ripped away from you. Even when character survives, it didn't feel like a win. It felt like a loss. Season 2, though, it had a lighter tone, a better vibe. It felt almost fun. And that's where the conflict starts. Because the Squid Game is about despair, exploitation, and emotional destruction, why does Season 2 feel like something that I could casually rewatch for comfort? Why did major character deaths not hit the same way? Why did I feel like nothing truly devastating was going to happen, even when it did? And that's what this video is about. Not why Season 2 is bad, not why it's amazing, but why it's somehow both my favorite and my least favorite season at the same time. And honestly, I think the reason I love it might be the exact same reason it feels wrong. To really explain why Season 2 is my favorite, I have to go back a little. When Season 1 first came out in 2021, I tried to watch it. If I'm being completely honest, it scared me. That first red light green light scene, watching all those people drop in seconds, it was too much for me at the time. I've always been the type of person who feels bad when characters die, even random background characters, even when I know it's fictional. Something about it just sticks with me. So I stopped watching. Fast forward to right before New Year's going into 2025. I'm scrolling on TikTok and suddenly my whole feed is full of Season 2 edits. Not dark edits, not dramatic ones, fun ones, cool transitions, character dynamics, moments that looked intense but not too overwhelming. And I realized something. I wasn't a young kid anymore. I was 3 years older than I first tried watching Season 1. So I thought maybe I should give it another chance. And when I did, I went all in. I binged the entire first season in one day. I already knew most of the big moments because it's been out for years. Spoilers were everywhere, but honestly, that helped. I wasn't watching in fear of who was going to die. I was watching to understand the story. Then I watched Season 2 in one day too, and that's when everything clicked. I loved everything about it. Seeing Gi-hoon outside the games was such a refreshing shift. After everything he went through in Season 1, watching him navigate life afterward felt satisfying. And finding out Junho was alive, that reunion, that build-up, it felt rewarding in a way Season 1 never had the chance to be. By the time we got back into the games, I was fully invested. And what stood out the most to me was I connected with way more characters in Season 2. In Season 1, I mostly attached myself to the core group, Gi-hoon, Songwoo, Sae-byeok, Ali. It was tight, focused. But Season 2 felt bigger. There were multiple groups I cared about, multiple dynamics I was paying attention to. I wasn't just locked into one storyline, I was engaged with the entire board. The new games helped with that too. Mingle instantly became one of my favorite games in the entire series. The tension, the strategy, it felt creative and unpredictable. I loved how the voting system evolved. I loved In-host stepping into the 001 role. Even the rebellion subplot was entertaining to me. And yeah, I know this might get backlash, but I even enjoyed the energy Thanos brought to the season. He added chaos. He made scenes more fun. And as much as I liked that presence, I was even more excited when Myungi killed him, because at that point I was already a big Myungi fan. That's what Season 2 did to me. It made me excited. It made the world of Squid Game feel vibrant instead of suffocating. Season 1 exposed uncomfortable truths. It was elite writing. It was devastating. It was heavy. Season 2, though, it let me enjoy the world. It became a comfort season. I rewatched it a lot, not out of obsession with trauma, but because I truly liked the vibe. Even the side plots with Junho and Noel, while not groundbreaking in Season 2, were still entertaining enough to keep me engaged. And maybe that's the simplest way to put it. Season 1 made me respect Squid Game. Season 2 made me love it. It was colorful, energetic, alive, and for a while, that's exactly what I needed. But here's the problem. As much as I love Season 2, it didn't feel like Squid Game. And that's a hard thing to admit, because this is the reason that made me fall in love with the show. The biggest issue for me is tone. Season 2 didn't match the emotional weight of the other seasons. When you really think about it, there were only about 5 major player deaths that actually mattered to the main narrative. Gyeongsu, Youngmi, Semi, Thanos, and Jungbae. If I'm being honest, the first 3 didn't hit that hard. Not because they didn't get screen time, they did. But not because they were irrelevant, they weren't. But it felt like the show used them more as tools to develop other characters rather than treating them as characters we were meant to deeply mourn. They almost felt positioned, like they were placed there to boost someone else's arc, which made their deaths feel more like stepping stones than emotional devastation. Thanos' death was entertaining, but I think a part of me always knew he wasn't surviving the season. His energy felt temporary, so when he died, it felt more like a narrative checkpoint than a tragedy. The only death that truly felt emotional was Jungbae, and even then, something about it didn't fully land. The scene stretched out so long that the tension started to fade before the final shot. It should have been suffocating. It should have felt sharp and immediate, but instead, the drawn-out nature almost softened the blow. And that's kind of the theme of Season 2. It softened things. When I think about Season 1, there were moments where I genuinely felt uncomfortable, moments where I held my breath, moments where I had to pause. Season 2 rarely made me feel that way. There wasn't that same constant sense of fear, and that's where the comfort factor becomes complicated. I like that Season 2 felt vibrant. I like that it was energetic. I like that I could rewatch it without bracing myself emotionally. But Squid Game isn't supposed to be comfortable. At its core, it's about desperation, inequality, human cruelty under pressure. It's about watching people make impossible choices and living with the consequences. Season 2 almost felt like it was afraid to sit in that darkness for too long, and because of that, when Season 3 came out and returned to a heavier tone, I wasn't ready. I had grown attached to so many characters in Season 2 because I subconsciously felt like they were safe. The season trained me to believe survival was more likely than devastation. So when Season 3 started taking them away, it hit differently. Not because the writing was bad, but because I wasn't emotionally conditioned for it. Another thing that stands out now, especially on rewatch, is the foreshadowing. Season 2 actually painted a lot of subtle hints about what was coming. Dialogue lines, character dynamics, small amounts that clearly pointed towards certain outcomes. But here's the thing. When I first watched Season 2, those moments didn't feel heavy. They didn't feel ominous. Now, going back after Season 3, those same scenes feel uneasy. You hear certain lines and immediately think, oh, I know how this ends. And that uneasiness almost rewrites the tone retroactively. It's strange, because in real time, Season 2 felt light, but in hindsight, it was setting up darker outcomes the entire time, which makes me appreciate it structurally. But emotionally, I still think it could have pulled harder. I don't think Season 2 needed to be relentlessly dark like Season 1. It didn't have to copy the exact same formula. Growth and tonal shifts are important, but I do think it could have leaned more into emotional consequences. Let the losses linger. Let the fear breathe. Let us sit in discomfort for more than a few seconds. Because when Squid Game is at its best, it doesn't just entertain you, it unsettles you. Season 2 brought in a lot of attention because of its new vibe. It was more colorful, more energetic, more character-driven in a way that felt approachable. And that's probably why I connected with it so much. But at the same time, I don't think it was the right vibe for Squid Game. Not fully. It made me comfortable in a story that wasn't meant to be comfortable. And that's why Season 2 is both my favorite and my least favorite. It gave me joy, but it also diluted the devastation that makes Squid Game powerful in the first place. At the end of the day, Season 2 didn't fail me. It just surprised me. It was a season that finally pulled me into Squid Game. It's the reason I binged everything. The reason I started making theories. The reason I'm even sitting here making this video. And I can't ignore that. Season 1 made me respect Squid Game for its writing, its themes, and the risks it was willing to take. Season 2 made me emotionally attached. It made me comfortable. And maybe that's the most ironic part of all, because Squid Game isn't supposed to be about comfort. It's supposed to feel unfair, heavy, tense. It's supposed to make you question humanity a little bit. It's supposed to leave you sitting there after an episode thinking, that didn't feel right. Season 2 didn't do that as much. Instead, it gave me characters I enjoyed watching, dynamics I liked seeing, games that felt creative and fun, a tone that felt vibrant instead of suffocating. And for me personally, that was perfect timing. I was older when I first tried watching the show. I was ready to experience it differently. Season 2 met me exactly where I was emotionally. But looking back, especially after Season 3, I can see the cracks. I can see how the lighter tone made the devastation hit less in the moment. I can see how some characters felt more like narrative devices than people we were meant to grieve deeply. I can see how the tension sometimes stretched too long instead of tightening. And I can also see how the comfort I might felt has been misplaced. Because when I rewatch Season 2 now, knowing what happens later, there's a strange uneasiness. Lines that once felt casual now feel like warnings. Moments that once felt fun now feel temporary. And that shift in perspective almost feels intentional. Season 2 was a calm before something heavier. It was vibrant on the surface, but structurally setting up collapse. So maybe it wasn't trying to be Season 1. Maybe it was trying to lure us into attachment. And if that's the case, then it succeeded, because it made me care, and caring is dangerous in Squid Game. So yeah, Season 2 is my favorite because it made me love the series, and it's my least favorite because it forgot, at least for a little while, what makes Squid Game hurt, and Squid Game should hurt. That's what makes it powerful. And that's my honest take. I know some people are going to disagree with me, especially about enjoying the vibe of Season 2, and that's completely fine. That's what makes talking about the show interesting. So I actually want to know, do you think Season 2 is too light compared to the other seasons? Or do you think the tonal shift was necessary? Was it a refreshing evolution, or did it take away from what made Squid Game impactful? Let me know in the comments. I like to read them, and I love seeing different perspectives, especially on a show like this where tone matters so much. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe if you want more Squid Game breakdowns, theories, and character deep dives. With everything the series sets up, there's still a lot to talk about. And yeah, Season 2 might have been comfort, but Squid Game was never meant to be that way. This one is a bit shorter than previous videos, and it focused on a really specific topic, but I still hope y'all enjoyed the deep dive. I wish that you guys all have a great day, and I'm looking forward to the next video. Peace out.